Eagles football tonight, live video here on my channel. You're going to see me go ape shit or ecstatic or just jump off a bridge. Anyways, want to do a little story here that's non-football related before the Eagles take the field tonight. And that is, I was watching on Good Morning America this morning, and there's a tour for Whitney Houston, a world tour that is starting in 2016 for Whitney Houston. Now, I know a lot of you might be saying, that's kind of impossible considering Whitney Houston died 3 years ago. Now, here's the thing about this tour. It's a group, or it's a concert promotion group that specializes in hologram imaging. And what they're going to do is they're going to make an entire concert out of hologram footage of Whitney Houston. So when you go to see it, it's just basically looking at this, elaborate hologram set. It'll be, her voice, and you're basically watching old footage of Whitney Houston performing her music. Now, the thing that got my attention about this is there's a bunch of criticism against this because they're seeing this as a blood money move. The estate of Whitney Houston is cashing in on Whitney Houston's death, or just making money off of her being a dead person. And they were talking about all this on the news this morning, and I'm like, I'm one of the first people to call out someone for being a blood money leech, but I don't see it here. I don't see it at all. And one of the main reasons why I think people are being so critical here is the fact that, and I got to backtrack to explain this a little bit, when Whitney Houston died, the sole ownership of her estate went to her daughter, and it was like co-jointly shared with Bobby Brown and a couple other people, but the majority stake in the estate went to her daughter, and now her daughter has since died. The estate, control of Whitney Houston's estate, which is any future licensing of Whitney Houston or any decisions that have to be done with any copyrights that Whitney Houston owns, anything like that, has to be settled through the ownership of the estate. So when her daughter died, the estate ownership went to Pat Houston, which is Whitney Houston's sister-in-law. So it's not even a blood relative. And now that estate is being majorly controlled by Pat Houston and partly controlled by Bobby Brown, Whitney Houston's drug abusive ex-husband. And I don't think people can stand that. Now, granted, I don't like Bobby Brown as much as the next guy. And, it stinks that a non-blood relative is getting the lion's share of Whitney Houston's estate. But is that really a reason to call this a blood money venture? Because, again, if this was a different circumstance and a different dead singer, and if, Michael Jackson wanted to have a world tour, and it was, Michael Jackson's family, brother, sister, Janet, whoever, that gets the bulk of the money that is collected from this tour, would people really have a problem? It's like, well, no, the Jackson family, other than, Joe Jackson being an abusive dad, and people might have an issue with that, but still, I seriously doubt there would be that much of an uproar. In fact, they did a hologram thing with Michael Jackson after he died, showing his moonwalk from the Billboard Awards, or it was on the Billboard Awards from whatever. They bottom line is they did it after he's dead. And with this, it's like this is only a story I'm feeling, and the outrage is only there because, well, they don't like the people who are in charge of the estate. Like, that's the only thing I could think of, because how many times has someone made money off of a dead singer? Like, my God, go to Vegas. There's any of thousands of Elvis impersonators making money, getting paid by casinos to perform. It's like, oh, you guys are making blood money off of Elvis. You're imitating a dead man's act. Like, I don't care if there's an audience that's willing to pay to go see it. I mean, people have every right as a Whitney Houston fan to say, like, I have an ethical problem with this, I won't pay to go see it. Fine! I mean, I don't see how you can still have a problem with it existing at all for people that do want to pay to go see it. Now, I mean, it's one thing if this was something like Okay, Whitney Houston died in the middle of a world tour, and the tour group said, "Oh, all of you that bought tickets, don't fret, because what we're going to do is we're going to put a hologram image of Whitney Houston on there, so all you guys that bought tickets, you could still see Whitney Houston perform, even though she just died last week." If it was something like that, I'd be like, wow. That's a bit of a blood money venture. But this is something where it's years after the fact, and frankly, an estate has the right to make money off of a dead person's copyright, likeness, image, what have you. And frankly, just because people don't like Bobby Brown or don't like the fact that Pat is now in charge of the estate and she's a non-blood relative to Whitney, I don't know. I do know how I feel, but I don't understand why there's really any outrage over this at all. That it's one of the lead stories on the news this morning. It must be a slow news day. Anyway, just something I want to talk about because I find it interesting when something in society is called out for blood money, and I'm not one of the people going along with it. It's like, well, that's weird because I'm one of the first people to blow the whistle when I see blood money being earned, and I don't see this as one of the cases. Again, I don't like Bobby Brown. I don't like the fact that a non-blood relative like Pat Houston is going to be raking in the major amount of dough from this, but it doesn't mean they don't have the right to give a willing-to-pay audience a chance to see and come together as Whitney Houston fans around the world. I mean, I really don't see how that could be criticized at all. Because, I mean, like, why don't they spend more time appreciating the fact that Whitney Houston fans are going to get a chance to come together for a night and appreciate the great talent that Whitney Houston was, instead of hating on the fact that, oh man, some people are making money off of this shit. That ain't right. I don't know. Again, I find it astonishing that something gets called out as blood money, and I don't see it like that. Anyways, back into football mode. Back here tonight for the Eagles game live against the Atlanta Falcons. It's almost game time. Fuck the Dallas Cowboys, even though you won last night, because the Giants are just abysmally stupid. Have a good day, everyone.